we've released eCS 2.0 GA. We're selling it. Finally, it's there. Basically, at Warpstock, I presented a list of items we wanted to do.
2009.
The previous one in Stralsund. Heavy update of the bootable JFS code. Steve Levine has fixed approximately 15 traps in it. Kernel panics, cleaned up. The drive letter problem is gone. If you used to boot the version of MCP or older versions of Ecom Station, it could sometimes destroy the boot drive letter, so that's gone. The Uni-out audio driver that works on most chipsets these days on laptops and desktop machines would hang the system if there was an HDA audio chipset on board. This is finally fixed. The Panorama video driver had problems with setting up caching registers for video memory properly. Quite a complicated bit of code. I don't understand it myself, but it boils down to it that, for example, a latest ThinkPad, like a T500, would crash if the driver would load. Plus, there have been a lot of enhancements in the driver to make it more efficient and faster. There were a couple of items I mentioned in Stralsund as being needed for 2.0 to be released. That has all been achieved, is in the product. Zoltadar from the Netherlands, who makes updates, he has been helping us to update the national language support trees. He has enhanced the updates. You need to update all of the important files in the different language versions, German, Dutch, Italian, and Chinese, etc. Many bugs have also been resolved and install enhancements made. In the last 5 years, we fixed over close to 1,000 bugs, and most of them are actually not marked to don't resolve or can't fix. Most of them are actually meant to code changes. And we've added the best possible support for hard disks up to 512 gigabytes.
Larger.
Larger, sorry. In eCS 2.0 there are a couple of primary points that are new, including a lot of smaller enhancements. There's ACPI support in there. I demonstrated a T61 laptop yesterday. It fully suspended and resumed. Wi-Fi still worked.
You ever try to get emails or send any emails after resuming it?
Yes.
It's not working.
One laptop.
T60?
You have the build that is in eCS 2.0.
Yeah.
The build from Lars Hertman.
What?
The build from Lars Hertman.
From?
Lars.
Which build from last Edmund?
The build from the 23rd of April, that's the build level in the ACPI PSD.
I don't know, I downloaded it from your website.
Was not yet online. The last build that was online was done by Pasha, and Lars has made a couple of crucial fixes in the APM code for suspend resume, and this seems to have improved things a lot. I've actually been capable of suspending and resuming my laptop while audio was playing, and Z would then crash, I could start up Z again and resume the audio again. So that seems to have done a couple of good things. Bootable JFS in there. I consider it stable after all of the fixes and enhancements. Benefit, 64 megabyte cache on most systems by default, and you can push it up to 100 or 200 megs if you want. Much faster disk I/O. There's a summer client included, which is support from the Linux version with a graphical user interface and a network browser that shows you all the resources in your network. As I said, the Panorama driver is installed, and there are a couple of installer enhancements, and I'll just give it over to Alex then.
Okay, yeah, we've spent the last 6 months or so trying to iron out all of the annoyances and ugly sort of cancers that were hanging around in the graphical eCS installer. So we've made a number of improvements, a lot of them based on user requests. And what I'm going to try and do, if this works, is show you.
It takes some time.
Okay. Is try and show you the major changes. Yes.
And at the same of the buttons.
Ah.
You have to do it off sleep.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Restart.
Oh, restart? Okay. C. Okay. One moment, if you don't mind. I'll start by, while this is rebooting, I'll just run over a couple of changes. First page of the installer, you can now select right-handed or left-handed mouse. That was one request we got. Funnily enough, it never really occurred to us to add it until somebody asked for it, and then somebody asked and said, "Hey, why can't you select? This sucks. You can't change the mouse." I said, "Well, nobody asked for it. I'll put it in." So we put it in. And also, we can allow you to select automatic clock synchronization, for instance, via an NTP network time server. That's in both advanced and easy install. And one major change for easy install, well, a couple of related changes in fact. First of all, we discovered recently that if you install GenMac in easy install, in all previous releases it didn't actually work. If you went through easy install and installed GenMac, it would install and it would appear to work, but it wouldn't because it didn't create all the necessary entries in the protocol INI file. So we fixed that. And what's that? Oh, go ahead.
Just as a quick note, we've had over 600 log files back from people their installations with the feedback wizard. This would upload all your zip information to our FTP server, and we analyzed that. Of the about 500 to 600 log files that we've received, 99 were easy installation. Nobody ever reported the fact that GenMac did not even work. It was discovered by accident that actually other NIC drivers, classic OS to NIC drivers would work, but the GenMac for the technical detail of the installer would not work. So, and this error has been in there for the last 4 releases, but nobody ever noticed it. So.
Anyway, first page of the installer, we've added this, right-handed or left-handed mouse. Yay. Here's the license, make sure you read every word.
Do you have a key?
Yes. Easy installation. I'll just quickly show you some of the changes in easy install. I'm not going to actually do an install, so I'll mess around at the moment. So. Okay, this is a new checkbox here at the bottom. Enable synchronization. This, in conjunction with this one above, actually will enable you to have your clock changed automatically when summer or winter time changes over. That didn't work before in previous release candidates. It should work now, but you do have to enable synchronization for it to work. If you select this daylight savings time is used, that doesn't actually cause the clock to be changed automatically by itself. All that does is it tells certain applications that have to do time conversions that you happen to be in a country that uses daylight savings time. But if you want your clock to change automatically, you have to select both of these checkboxes. Okay. This is all the usual stuff, hardware detection. Most of you have seen all this before, I suspect. As always, your hardware should hopefully be automatically detected. If it isn't, you can change your selections there. Sound page and network. This is not significantly changed. I've altered the wording slightly, but the feature is the same. Okay, this easy install page. Notice we have added a new control at the bottom. Install a secondary network adapter. Previously, in previous versions, you could not install 2 network adapters in easy mode. That was a problem if you had an Ethernet plus wireless NIC. You could not use the wireless NIC in easy install. So, to address that, I've added a new feature. Install a secondary network adapter. Easy install. Enable it, and bing, this appears. Because I don't have 2 network adapters in this particular machine, obviously it didn't detect a second one. It should, however, automatically detect one if you have it. And if you don't, if it doesn't for some reason detect it, you can say change adapter and use the usual selection list. Now, for the secondary network adapter, you can only use TCP/IP. You can use any of these protocols, TCP/IP, TCP/GUI, NetGUI, on the primary adapter. But just to keep things simple, this is easy install after all. We decided, okay, secondary network adapter, generally this is going to be just for wireless communications. Just keep it simple, TCP/IP only. Okay, I'm going to restart and now show you advanced install. Because there's one fairly significant change, and I will try and do this quickly, Roderick. I know you're kind of watching the clock here.
One question.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that I couldn't change the adapter settings by hand in the AWIN common.
Certainly you can, yes. Yes, it works. This is just about what the defaults are that the installer will put in.
You can also use advanced and then just add NetBIOS protocol.
Yes.
And if you have a wireless card in advanced mode, it also adds NetBIOS over TCP.
Yes. Advanced mode will automatically install NetBIOS over TCP/IP as well as TCP/IP on any NICs it detects, and you can change that as to your heart's content right there in the installer.
Do you know by heart if the Broadcom adapters are supported?
Various Broadcom adapters are supported. The specific model.
Something.
What's that?
B59.
B57.
57.
There are two different drivers for the B57 actually, GenMac and the native driver. I use the B57 on my T43 over there. It works quite well.
Okay.
Okay. Advanced install.
Now you didn't choose advanced install.
I did actually.
You don't now?
Yes.
Yes, this is advanced install now. I just went back and started it. And the proof is this button here, which does not appear in easy install and did not appear in earlier versions either. You can actually format other volumes besides install volume in advanced install. See all my drives, I can choose to install various ones. It'll show you whichever file system is on it already, if there is one. It'll select it automatically. And yeah, quick format, it's fairly obvious what that does. Again, I'm not actually going to install, so I'm not going to format it here. Okay, this is the same as an easy install. And there's one more thing I want to show you, and just bear with me while it runs through this nice hardware correction here. Okay, this is a new screen we've added. Default programs directory and default home directory now have their own page. These used to be selected on the software package tree, and they didn't actually do anything very useful. So now, if I say the default programs directory is J programs, go into the next page, notice that all of these software packages that would normally default to boot drive programs, okay, they will pick up whatever you selected on the previous page as the programs directory. There are various ones like Java, 1.4 does it, the bonus applications do it, some of these do it like 4OS2 I think, or whatever it is, Lucid. Earlier versions you had to actually hunt through the whole tree and find out which ones were going to boot drive programs and change every single one manually if you wanted to change them to a separate drive. I like to have a separate drive for my applications. I know a lot of you do too. So I added that feature. So I'm going to go back and change this to E programs. Now go forward again here, and oh look, they're all pointing to drive E now. Yay.
Well,
Thank you.
great feature.
Yes, thank you. Anyway, other than that, install is not significantly changed. One or two little bits of polish were applied here and there. For instance, if you put, your TCP/IP settings, if you're doing a migration, will be detected automatically now. And if you enter a host name on the IP page, the same host name will automatically be carried through for your LAN ID, instead of creating a completely random string like it did before that was based on the date, I think. So anyway, that's a quick rundown of the new installer features. Any questions? Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the next page of your slideshow there, which is national language versions. So I'll just, I will, but we should probably change the slide first. Okay, NLS versions, National Language Support versions of Ecom Station. Wow. Oh, there we go. As always, we are committed to doing our best to come out with different language versions of eCS 2.0. We've got quite a lot of different versions, language versions in the pipe. Some of them are more close to being ready than others. English is being released this weekend. I would anticipate, this is not an official announcement, but I would anticipate that German and Dutch will both be ready fairly soon. Dutch in particular is, thanks to our intrepid translators, very closely kept up with the English level of development. So I do not think it would take very long at all for Dutch to release.
I think for 95%. Could be more.
Okay. German is not that much further behind, to my knowledge. So, again, yes.
German, the last part was done. Joachim, who worked on German, I forgot his name. Andreas Schnellbach did the last work on EcoStation German in November last year. And Christian Henneke has talked to him, and they will both resume work, and there are some other people that have volunteered.
So actually, maybe Christian will do it because Andreas didn't want to do it anymore. He's happy that Christian is taking over the job, and Andreas will support him a little bit. But actually, Andreas stopped supporting the Ecom Station summer last year. That's
sure. He's still willing to help, so this is
you know why?
Yeah, I don't
Because he didn't find another solution of operating system. He tried it with Linux, it was no solution.
Okay.
That's the point.
Okay, others that we're working on include Italian, Japanese, and traditional Chinese. Those are all fairly well advanced in development, but it's going to be a bit of time before they're actually ready for GA, mostly because there's still a lot of translation work that needs to be done. Now, I'm not sure if I have ACPI on this or not, but I'll see if this works. This is actually a silver release installation of eCS Japanese, which I'm going to try and show you here.
Oh yeah.
Does the JFS check this?
If you're interested, we also have the Korean takeaway restaurant facility.
So let's purchase an English version, I guess, from the new version, PTV2. Is there any possibility to switch to German if it's available?
Yes, any language version that will be released is available for anyone for download, and you can always purchase a media pack. Any language is, the key is installable on any language version. So it's no longer a different product.
So I can switch between the languages.
Yes. And you need a new install media version.
Okay.
You cannot in the OS.
Can I download it from your homepage?
When it's released, you can download it.
Okay.
We will just add everything to a single download account so you can click it from the tree.
Yeah. So, any more questions about national language support?
Can you translate that?
Actually, yeah, I can translate a bit of it. I'm the guy who put the Japanese version together. So yeah, I mean, this is what it looks like. Local system, local network, internet, etc. And it even has the specific Japanese components, which is the input method editor down here. So I can, if, for example, I wanted to type my name in Japanese. Bing. That means my name is Alex. So, by the way, oh, that's the old version. Do I have the new version to send? Well, we don't really have time, so I'll let Roderick take over and do his little spiel. If we have time at the end, I might want to show you some of the features that we did. But anyway, that's the little blurb on national language support. Back to you, Mr. Klein.
Other languages are also in the
Oh,
pipeline.
yes, I should mention that, sorry. Swedish, Russian, Simplified Chinese are all sort of under preliminary development. Swedish, the main barrier there is just time and translation. If there is a demand for Swedish, I don't think it would be too much trouble to do a Swedish version, as long as we get the translators to do the work.
I think there is demand from the translator.
Yeah, quite.
We discussed this, I think, like 4.
Yeah. Russian, we're working on. There are some technical hurdles we still have to overcome, but hopefully we can get that sorted out. Ditto Simplified Chinese, we have actually a customer for that one already, so we're going to try and get that going.
We've got a company that has already purchased the simplified Chinese version and will be preloading it on machines running OS Econ Station and shipping it to China for manufacturing chips and putting them on the boards for the equipment. Let's see here. What did we do? Well, the big thanks. There are many people that contributed to this project. Paid people, volunteers, partly hired. Part of the foundation for large parts of the components that make up eCS 2.0 were coordinated by Eugene Rogunov from Eco Software. He started to work on ACPI, bootable JFS and Panorama. Those components would have never seen the light of day without his work. He laid the foundations for it together with his developers. So we would otherwise still be stuck with HPFS as a boot file system with a 2 megabyte cache. If you're interested, you can start loading OpenOffice 3.1 from HPFS, and in the meantime you can get your cup of coffee. Steve Levine from SCOAC has been an endless help in getting hard problems debugged with OS2 kernel debugger. I've spent maybe too many nights in the office while he was sitting in California and working with the debugger remotely to figure out stuff. Lately the UniOut team has also picked up speed again. David Azerwitz from the United States has popped up and fixed the UniAut driver for HDA support. Basically for the last 4 years we've been stuck on supporting these HDA chipsets because there are some bugs in the driver. Many people have tried to fix them but did not find the cause for it. Other developers are, well, Alex Taylor, who has been doing a lot of work along the sidelines. Rudiger Ile has been working on different projects, contributing to ACPI. Lars Erkman recently has joined the project and has also worked on ACPI, and that's why I was able to demonstrate a T61 yesterday that could suspend and resume. Actually, it would fall asleep within 3 or 4 seconds, and it would wake up again with full screen working, mouse, hard disk, everything, USB also. We're not stopping there. Corporate interest in Econ Station continues not to decline but to increase. We are getting more and more requests from companies. We're not expecting it that late into the project. We were actually around 2008 starting to get the impression where are corporates, but we are getting more and more. In fact, 2009 was the best year ever for Econ Station, with the largest turnover ever. And the largest portion of turnover also came from companies buying Econ Station to keep their equipment running.
Where are those customers located?
Primarily right now in the United States, and we now have a customer that we are busy in the testing phase with Econ Station and to resolve their technical problems, and that one is in Europe, and that's a very big one. I wish I could say more, maybe at next year's Warpstock, but it's under NDA. For past ECS 2.0 there will be updates for the Daniela driver. We have a developer, he's ex-RSJ, the company that makes the RSJ CD burning software. He will resume work in June or July, he's finishing up a project, and according to his estimates, and that was Steve Levine, it's going to take between 2 and 4 months to update the driver to support AHCI. And for people who don't know what AHCI is, that's basically the follow-up of the old SATA hard disk standard that you now have in your laptops. And you might see it actually in your laptop's BIOS, especially in the more modern ones, that say AHCI or compatibility mode. And over time, the SATA interface will disappear, and we're going to get these dreaded messages again. OS2 cannot operate to hard disk. That's being worked on. Panorama driver updates are coming. USB stack currently also has trouble. Steve Levine is working on that with the developer, Greg Young. The people are there to do it, and they're working on it right now. ACPI updates are planned, UniOut updates, new NIC drivers. In fact, last night I compiled the first new network driver to support the latest Intel gigabit Ethernet controllers. This is the ported Linux module, and I'm anticipating that with another month we will have the current models like on the T500, we will have Ethernet support. Not wireless, but we will have Ethernet control support. For the Daniela driver, as I said, we are looking at AHCI support, possibly SAS control support that's used in servers, and because let's just say that those standards are slightly related, and we are digging into how we can make OS2 support bigger hard disks more efficiently, but that will require updating a couple of very low device drivers in OS2, but we have some technology on the shelf to do that. Further updates on the Panorama driver is that just before Warpstock I got word back from, what is his last name, Jan, do you remember that, Joachim?
Yeah.
He's from the United States, he popped up over 2 months ago, and he wants to make a generic widescreen enabler so that Panorama can support the non-standard resolutions on laptops with a widescreen on it. There will be further optimization for the MTR settings. These are used on a computer to cache the video area and other parts of the system. This is what gives Panorama its speed. Current Ecom Station 2.0 already ships with a largely improved driver that's faster. There are more possibilities to enhance it. If you're interested, talk to me after Warpstock because it's quite technical. And there will be further fixes on Dive done to support Qt4 better. The USB stack, as I said, is already being worked on. But the most important thing is that the DDK code that we have, the device driver code from IBM, is not equal to the current binaries that we have for Ecom Station. So what we need to do is we need to make that code to the same level, and then we can start adding updates. If we start adding updates to the current source code that we have from IBM, we will lose all kinds of support and have back-leveled functionality. We will also update the mass storage driver. There are already snippets of code and plans on the table and technical documentation what needs to be addressed. So this should make supporting external USB hard disks and USB keys a lot better. There are also already fixes in the SVN repository. In fact, if you go to svn-ecomstation.nl, that's the repository at NetLabs, you will see that there's a USB project, and in that there's being worked on the ACPI code.
Are there plans to support USB-C that's it?
Yes, eventually it will, but only after the USB 1.1 and 2.0 is updated. But I don't have that much rush with USB 3.0 because currently Intel did a press release about half a year ago that for the foreseeable 12 months when they did that press release, they would not put USB 3.0 even on their main boards. So it will come up on hardware and we will certainly support it. But we first want to fix the base USB stack. There are new USB drivers done by Roderick Klein that are, some of them have been completely rewritten just about from scratch, and they are being tested now internally, and they will provide much better support for USB mouse and keyboards as well. There will be further updates to ACPI. We know why AMD chipsets in Ecom Station are not working. That is quite in-depth. There's a problem that when ACPI gets enabled, certain interfaces in the BIOS that OS2 needs to load are switched off, it seems. And that's what needs to be fixed in the current OS2 loader and kernel. There is internal support available for throttling Intel CPUs so that the speed can go down when the computer is inactive, resulting in longer battery life and less heat. There is already an alpha version available internally that supports the Cool Now technology for AMD CPUs. There will also be updates to the ACPI code as time moves along to support new equipment that's coming out. The UniOut audio driver, we have to rewrite UniOut 16. That's the driver that has been causing all the problems with UniOut itself. And some of the older equipment is actually also affected, as it turns out, by our tests. We will look at adding multi-channel support for HD audio as well, so meaning that you can play multiple streams. According to the HDA audio standard, you can play up to 4 audio channels at the same time. There will be a new mixer application.
Who wants to hear that?
Well, there's a simple need for that. Then you play an audio stream like MP3 or a movie, and you have system sounds. You play system sounds.
I know quite a few people who actually use the SB Live card with this driver from Sander van Leeuwen, because that driver, yes, supports up to I think 25 audio streams simultaneously. MMOs too also supports that. It's not going to be a priority, but our developer David in the last 6 weeks has cleared, as far as I can tell, most of the UniOut bugs that cause traps and hangs. That's why UniOut over the last 3 years was at a complete standstill. And at least we're now moving towards the phase that we can finally enhance UniOut through bug fixing in it. Basically, if there's a new build from the Linux code, which is called ALSA, it's compiled and put into the UniOut 32 driver. Basically, in the future, it will be with the fixes in UniOut 16. We can get a new ALSA build, compile it, and it will run in more than 95% of the cases. All of the troubles that we had with mixer settings, with audio buffers hanging the system, was all in the UniOut 16 driver. That's where 90% of the errors came from. So if that UniOut driver straightened out, we'll have much stable systems and better audio support as well.
Still have 3 sound cards laying around, just in case.
Test it. There's also going to be something which is a new VSD. A VSD is something which is an MMOS2, and all of the applications that talk to the MMOS2 subsystem send audio buffers to the audio driver. If this VSD, that's also a mean of replacement. As it turns out, there are some bugs in it as well. For new NIC drivers, we are going to get a new driver ported by a Ukrainian company that we found. I've actually compiled it last night. This is alpha code, and it loads on my T60, shows up in the hardware manager, and at least it doesn't crash it. Anticipation for the release of the driver is at the end of May, beginning of June, according to their timeline. And we also need it for one of our corporate customers that is using it in an embedded solution. For GenMac, I had a phone call with Willibald Meyer, and he just told me that he wanted to send information to Steve Levine on the information on what's going wrong with GenMac, and I'm anticipating he will do that in the coming weeks at least, so we can see what can be worked out there. In the meantime, we are choosing a 2-strategy road at least, and we are busy with the Linux module to port that. It's done within 1 month now, so we'll see where it takes us. There will be a 1-month beta cycle for the Intel driver, and within that period it's up to people like you to test it on your equipment and provide us feedback. And after that the driver will be publicly available and we'll be able to support new Intel NICs in desktops and in laptops. For Flash 10, that's currently was the last release was in November. There's actually a problem in the SMP kernel itself of OS2. We are trying to find out why, but if I test it, it crashes my box. That also works without ACPI. It also crashes it with the old OS2 APIC driver from IBM. And there's something wrong in the kernel, and we are looking at how we can address that. There's also being work on supporting the phasing out of the plugin infrastructure currently in Firefox, because all the plugins that we right now have in Firefox are using an interface that is going away. And there's being worked on supporting the new interface on OS2 so that we can continue using Flash.
Is there not a workaround on this problem?
Sorry?
Workaround by invoking a run program, but simulates in fact a real zip pads.
No, the lip
Pads?
No, that's Joachim. What's that interface called? No, what's the interface called?
XPCOM, that's a yes.
It's called XPCOM, and that's what all OS2 plugins use. And the Mozilla people have indicated that that interface is no longer being tested and developed further, and is going to be phased out. And that's what we are working on, replacement, so that we can continue to use Flash. There will be fixes for Flash menus, and one of the things you now have is you select an item on the page, it will not function properly. So far I've talked to Sylvan Scherer. He worked on the Qt4 port, which is an application framework used to port graphical applications that can be compiled on Linux and Windows. That's also now currently on EconStation, thanks to a lot of community funding, money that was donated. And he is also working on a new version of Java for OS2, 1.6. Menzies will co-fund that, and there's also being worked on a current build of VirtualBox that's updated, that can run on OS2. There was a problem in the current VirtualBox driver for OS2 that it was not capable of loading properly and supporting all of the features. And that should be wrapped up within the next month or so. Thanks to the work that David Esowitz did on UniOut, Paul Smedley has indicated that we will resume work on the UniOut 32 builds, because now you can actually compile it and release new builds that will not break that easily. I think Alex has already demoed the 2.0 CD. The licensing for eCS 2.0 has also changed. There's now a home and a student version and a business edition. These two versions are exactly identical, with the difference that you can use the home and student version at home, and as a company you can use up to 5 licenses. If you go above it as a company, you need to buy the business edition, but the product itself is exactly the same. It has the same content, same drivers, same features. And normal pricing is for the home and student version $150.
Yeah, 149.
And in euros that's approximately 110, I think, right now.
Yeah.
And that includes OpenOffice 3.1 as well. That's no longer going to be available as a standalone product. That's going to be part of the base OS. And if you want to have updates, you buy software subscription that you can buy now, and then OpenOffice is included when updates are released. I think it shows that maintainability of OpenOffice can be achieved, because we've released OpenOffice 2.4, 3.0, 3.1, and 3.2 I think is getting close. Yes, okay. That was straight from the source. Right now at Warpstock you can buy it for 99 euros. That's a full version with everything attached to it. We will also be releasing the server version of the product, which is the exact same 2.0 product with the same installer, but it adds the LAN controller stuff that you can install an OS2 domain controller. And yes, we have customers for it. We actually have a Canadian customer that is going to deploy 50 new ecom servers. Can I mention their name?
No.
Sadly. But we've asked customers specifically, can we mention your names, so that we can mention them and put them on the website. Sadly, OS2 has unjustified a stigma. It's contaminated, and if you're a company and you're running OS2 and you make it public to the world, you're
out of business.
Yes. I've actually known people in the United States that have scrapped that they did OS2 work from their CV or their business resume, and they actually got a lot more support calls. I know 2 or 3 of those cases. And it seems that it's okay, it's unjustified, but for that reason it seems companies are extremely reluctant to make known to the outside world that it's using that. And for that reason you hear very little of the customers that we had.
I think we can mention ASM.
That's correct, yes.
Dutch company that makes chips
Wafer plate machines.
Wafer machines that can create chips, real chips, microchips. They have a controller that's running on eCS.
It took, most of these corporate customers take about 1.5 to 2 years to get through, but the customers that have contacted them, we actually have, I can say, a German customer, and they use it for a climate control system, and we have sold mountains of licenses to them. And we've also done customized work for them. That's part of the reason that the Ethernet controller is being developed. And we've also customized a serial port drive for their system. And it's because of this software that they can continue to sell their OS2 based solution. There's one company that's public that you can find of what I'm saying, and that's the United States Postal Service. If you look on Google for Fast Forward, we are now selling Ecom Station to companies that are remodeling these old systems that are used for mail sorting. And the reason that we can provide that is because this is a machine that has a SCSI card built into it and a scanner. And there's an application that's running on that system, and there's a little driver with it that reads out the data from the SCSI card. This is something that's extremely difficult to put in a virtual machine. And we have created a little patch for this driver so that it can work on more modern SCSI cards. That's where we did the consultancy. And now they can actually continue to refurbish these machines. And some of these customers want to have them running for at least another 5 to 10 years. So.
They officially endorse Ecom Station. They state in their documentation, use Ecom Station for this solution.
In their PDF it's written, you can look it up on Google. So I think it's safe to say that 2009 was the best year ever for Ecom Station. We are getting more and more corporate interest than ever before. We are getting interest from other countries. 90% of our corporate customers come from the United States. That's where IBM shut down OS2 support in 2003. And I would not be surprised if more customers are going to follow in Europe, because Europe, especially Germany, was much more proactive in keeping OS2 alive. In fact, the extension of the OS2 support that IBM provided, that partly came by some of its large European companies. And we do actually also have a bank, some are from South America, currently in discussions. They might actually want to test Ecom Station to put that on their ATMs and their bank terminals. So overall, they are encouraging times, and I think that eCS is far from being pushed onto the sidetrack. And especially the companies, we have one insurance company that wants to keep their OS2 stuff running for another 10 years. And they've already bought Ecom Station and they are running that on their employees' desktop in a virtual machine. So the times are changing, and we would have hoped that those times would come sooner. But I think overall the forecast for eCS is positive for the coming years, because the more money that flows in, the better we can fund it. So I don't think it's the end of the road. Are there any questions on what I've all told you? No. I hope I've answered them. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you next year, and hopefully possibly the year after. And I hope you enjoy using our software, and thanks for your time and attention.